This is McCook's Mr. Bill. It's an honor to have you here. Come on in, sit down. You want a Diet Dr. Pepper? I probably got one in the fridge for you. But you're here for a story. Okay. 34 years I've been on the streets selling snow cones for a quarter. Of course, doing my little missionary work, not affiliated with any church, because no church has God in it. God is either in your heart or he ain't there at all. Don't need no $10 million buildings for that. But on the streets, I stop a lot of fights. All kinds. All sizes. An example, I had a 7-year-old girl come running up to the candy truck and just this last week. And she yanked her shirt down. Said, "See, Mr. Bill, see my scratch? My brother scratched me." He come trotting up behind her, 5-year-old boy. And he said, in defense, he said, "She tried to murder me." And I looked back over at her, and she said, "I didn't try to murder him. I was digging a hole with a shovel, and I was putting the dirt beside the hole, and he stood there, so I put the dirt on his foot." He then said, "She tried to bury me." And I said, "So that's why you scratch her?" "Yes. And the next time I'm going to shoot her with my bow and arrow." Okay. So I figured without pushing too far on this age bracket, I just simply said, you know, it might be an idea when you're digging a hole and someone stands where you're putting the dirt, either ask them nicely to move or put the dirt someplace else, and you wouldn't have that kind of trouble. But if someone puts dirt on your foot, rather than to scratch them or shoot them with a bow and arrow and get yourself into a bucket of trouble with your mom, I think it'd be a much better idea is if you make a face at them. You make a face at them, you won't get near as much trouble, like that. And they both thought that might be a good idea. So they practiced as they walked away after I gave them free treats because they didn't have any money, and practicing making faces at each other, and seemed to have calmed it down. You never know what's going to come at you. Now, most fights you can easily calm down if they get to scuffling around out there. You just simply say, "Free snow cones if you quit fighting." Or, if it's a big kid picking on a little kid, I'll lean out and say, "Hey, you can't kill him until he's done spending his money at my candy truck." Everybody gets laughing about it. And then I take the next step after the kid gets his food bought. I said, "You still can't kill him. Everybody deserves a last meal before they get killed." And I then look at the kid with the food and say, "Eat slow. Eat slow." And it usually by that time the bully's off going someplace else. And it works out reasonably well. Sometimes the fights get a little intense before I can get out and or stop it, insomuch as simply leaning out and saying, "Go ahead, beat each other up." But at any moment, a good-looking, rich woman is going to walk by here wanting a real man in the worst way, and you two will be all beat up, and she won't want nothing to do with either one of you. You know, that stopped more fights than about any other way of stopping them that I know. Absolutely. Of course, there's been a few fights that got real serious in punching and hitting. Older kids, junior high and up into the high school. And one of the easiest, quickest ways to stop a fight is to say, "Cops are coming! Cops are coming!" And they don't even look most of the time to see the cops. They just take off running. You stop the fight. You bet. You stop the fight. Now, not very often, but once in a while, you'll have an adult in a fight in my area. Absolutely, it has happened. An example was a car come screeching up in front of me. Big old burly man got out of it and slammed the door, drawing my attention. Stomped over to a 16-year-old kid and grabbed him. Picked him up. His feet were off the ground. That guy carried him over about 10 feet to the nearest cottonwood tree, probably 4 foot around, maybe 5. And he took and he slammed that kid against that tree, saying, "You'll never touch my daughter again. You'll never have sex with my daughter again," as he's slamming him again and again against that tree. By the second slam, that kid's crying already, and by the third and fourth, he was getting pretty woozy-headed, no question. So I leaned out and I said, "Sir, I think you made your point." And here he came. He dropped that kid. Got in front of my candy truck and he said, "Are you related to him?" And I said, "No, sir. My goal here is to keep you safe." And he said, "You better stay out of it." And he took another step, and I said, but if you think you're going to cause me trouble, I don't fight fair. That means this tear gas is going to be coating your face, and you're going to have to fight me blind. And then I'm going to turn you into a fried chicken. I'm going to turn you into a fried chicken. You might want to back off, sir. Now, all I want to do is keep you safe. Now, get out of here. Well, he finally backed off and got in his car and left. I then got out, got some ice in a bag, and went over and put it on the kid's head. He was still crying. I said, you might want to think about leaving his daughter alone from now on. I didn't have to say it twice. I didn't have to say it twice. Now, you'd be surprised how and how often Mr. Bill keeps the peace in McCook, Nebraska. Rate this film.